Set the scout 308. Do the rail there, or you can mount it over the.
The Magpul Pmag. It's been around since 2007, but Magpul first got their start making Magpuls of all things, thus the name Magpul. These fit on the standard USGI mags, and from there they began to develop products with stocks, pistol grips, and a lot of other items for specifically the M4 platform or the AR-15 and the M16 rifle. And today we're going to take a look at their latest modifications to their magazines or improvements, and that's the Gen 3. We're going to compare the difference between the Gen 2 and the Gen 3 and what are the improvements. I've been buying Gen 2 mags for a while, and they've held up well. They're great magazines. But the one thing about Magpul is they never stop improving their product. Now, a couple of things about the Gen 3 right up front is they're using even a better polymer to increase the durability and the reliability of their magazines and different manufacturing processes. Of course, many of us know that Magpul just is in the process, if they haven't already, pulling out of Colorado, which passed a magazine ban. In fact, when I was at the NRA show, I picked up a few of their stickers that actually commemorate the airlift out of Colorado. These guys are masters at marketing, but really what they're masters at is just making a great product. Now, one of the biggest things about the Gen 3 mag is that these are now more compatible with non-Colt platforms, such as the AK-416, the SA-80, the FN SCAR, the MK-16, and other non-Colt, and that's the non-standard AR-15 platforms. And because of that, it's just given this a lot more appeal with a lot more rifles firing the 5.56 round. Now, the bolt catch notch has been redesigned. It also helps from over travel when inserting the magazine from going too far into the mag well. And this was some of the problems that the non-Colt platforms were having. Now, another thing that's a real vast improvement with the Gen 3 is that it's a little slimmer. One of the things about the Gen 1 and Gen 2 is the thickness of the magazine body. And sometimes when putting them in pouches, it was a little bit more difficult because the GI mags, the aluminum mags, were just a lot thinner and slicker. Now, another improvement is here at the base plate. They've retained a nice width of the base plate to be able to grab this and pull it from the pouch. Here, it still has a decent grip to it, but you're getting a little bit more improvement with the Gen 3. Also, you can see immediately these ribs on the front, whereas on the Gen 2 it's fairly smooth. You have these ribs, but these surfaces are smooth. This gives you a little more gripping surface, and also on the back as well. Now, you see different design features right away. Here you can see this is much more pronounced to insert into your mag well and to be able to catch a lot better. These areas here, they've been squared off and extended just a touch, and I think that has to do a little bit with the magazine being a little thinner, and it's going to give you a little more bite to these contact points. The mag retention areas have been improved and built up, and then here you can see on the Gen 3 there is a stronger lip, and a lot of this has to do with the non-Colt platforms. Just being able to use this both in the standard M4, AR-15, M16, and then also with, again, your HK-16, your SCAR, and different type rifles. The ribbing also that's on the PMag has been improved. It's raised up just a touch more than the standard Gen 2. This just gives you more gripping surface when pulling it from a pouch or removing it from your magazine well. Now, there's a dot matrix that's been added to the Gen 3, and what this does is allows you to identify your magazines, and you can use this dot matrix to even put numbers or letters according to what your needs are. And again, this can identify each magazine, but it also identifies the owner. Originally, I would take a little silver marker and just mark my magazine at the bottom to make sure that I could retain my magazines, but this is a much better way to identify your mag. Also, at the rear with the follower, the Gen 3 is squared off. This is going to allow for the bolt catch to hit solid. Here it was more of a U shape on the Gen 2. Now, one of the things about the Pmag which is really appealing is that the ease of taking off the base plates and cleaning your magazine. There are no tools needed to do this. But the ease in removing the base plate is just pushing down, and this is the retaining pin here. So you push it down and then lift backward, and it slides right off. So the Gen 3 goes to the rear position to remove, and that's a change from the Gen 2, which moves forward to release the base plate. And because of that change in the base plate, you're not going to be able to use your Gen 2 Ranger plates with your Gen 3 mags. They have specific Gen 3 Ranger plates that'll fit your Gen 3s. Magpul uses stainless steel springs. Now the Gen 2 base plate retainer pad has a few differences. There's a notch here, whereas on the Gen 3 it's squared off. But the big difference is right here. And there's a little bit more stability with this little point that comes out. Also, at the rear, you're going to get more contact, and this is going to allow for the spring to remain more stable at the bottom of the magazine. Now, the followers on the Gen 3 and the Gen 2 are different as well, and they've removed some of the surface area here. Most of your tilting goes forward. They've just kept this in the same dimension they have with the Gen 2, but they've removed some of that material from the back. The top surface is pretty close. The grooves inside the magazine keep the follower in place, and it's a constant curve, and that it's a design that Magpul has perfected. And again, the Gen 3 base plate just goes on in the opposite direction that the original Gen 2 goes in. Magpul still utilizes the dust cover or the lip protector, and you can place this over, keeps debris out of your magazine, and also if you drop your mags, especially a loaded mag with it weighted down, this will protect your feed lips. This also can be used as a tool to be able to remove your base plate. Now the Gen 3 is offered in the standard Pmag 30, which is a 30 round magazine, and then the Pmag 30 with the window. And one of the things I love about the window is you can follow your rounds as you begin to fire them, and there is a marker, there's an orange mark on the spring to be able to follow how many rounds are in the magazine. We have the 20 round magazines. These are great for the range or getting really low. If you need to get down on the ground, especially with maybe a heavy varmint rifle or a sniper type application, these would work well. And the 10 round magazines. These just allow you to get down on the rifle, especially if you're sitting at a bench, and these are the kind of magazines I take to the range. Now this is the reason why I like to go with a 10 or a 20 round magazine. You're going to have to really bring your rifle up high on the bench because of this. But all four of these magazines are excellent quality. Pmag is an excellent magazine, whether it's the Gen 1, Gen 2, or the Gen 3s. Now Magpul really went up a couple of notches in my book when they really stood behind the Second Amendment, and they said, you know guys, if you're not even going to allow citizens of our own state in Colorado to be able to own these magazines, we're pulling out. And a lot of the things that have led up to selling a ton of these magazines to Colorado residents and giving them great prices, giving away thousands of these magazines to Colorado gun owners. That to me really speaks volumes of a company that's not just out there to make a buck, but really believes in the Second Amendment and the freedoms that we hold so dear. Magpul, thumbs up. And one thing about it, guys, is because of this last scare, one more incident could start things all over again. If you don't have enough magazines, don't fuss because people are buying them up and supposedly hoarding them. Now's the time to buy them while they're becoming available again, and to go ahead and have your stock. So when the next incident happens, you'll be well supplied and not looking like a deer in headlights at these gun stores. Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Since 1999, Magpul has been producing these Of course, the namesake for Magpul were these Magpuls, which just are really and I bought a set of these ones. It's a good thing they hold up better on the magazine than they do loose in your hands. Of Colorado, after that anti-gun legislation. Gummit. Of course, you know this is my favorite.